Hey guys, how's everyone doing? Welcome back to Harry's Highlights. On this video, we're going to talk about the book Outliers. Now, this book is all about what it takes to become world class. See, it's all about talking about the 10,000 hour rule and how to become the best of the best, you need to put in, on average, 10,000 deliberate hours into anything that you do to become of a world class standard. See, they say that it takes about 4,000 hours to be at a sort of a teacher material, teacher level. It takes about 8,000 hours to be basically like good, to be like good, maybe great. But it takes 10,000 hours to become world class, best of the best. Now, this they found was the same across all different areas, like from everything from chess players to musicians, to even master criminals. And what they found is that this 10,000 hour rule was applicable to anything you do. It's basically the standard average that any person needs to put in, amount of time a person needs to put into anything that they do to get to that world-class standard. Now you might say there's only 2,000 difference between 8,000 and 10,000, but the difference in skill set is enormous. The difference in a person's ability to be like great, considered a great, and considered world-class, is the difference between people that represent their country, play sport, for example, at a national level, and those that go to the Olympics. There is a considerable difference, even though there's only 2,000 hours. That 2,000 hours of deliberate practice, and I mean deliberate hours of practice. It's very different to, how many people say when they're at school, for example, they said, I was up all night studying. And it's like, okay, when you say you're up all night, say you're up for another 6 hours after. How many hours of that was deliberately practicing? Not, 4 hours watching Netflix, 2 hours on Facebook, or like an hour on Facebook, half an hour eating, 25 minutes basically showering, 2 minutes drawing, and then another 2 minutes skimming over your notes. That's not up all night studying, Hours put in deliberately, where you are doing nothing but the practice, the task at hand. It takes 10,000 of those sorts of hours to become world class. Now, that really gave everyone sort of like, for me, I said, well, that gives everyone a lot of hope. Because it means that now there is a recipe, a target you can aim for. So when you're at 3,000 hours, 1,000 more hours, and you're basically at the level of like teacher. You could teach someone else quite comfortably. You may be at 7,500 hours, and then, okay, just a little bit further, I'm going to be at that level where it's like, great. It's like, okay, so it's better than teacher, not world class, but it's great. Like, I'm definitely considered like I know what I'm talking about. Then you hit 10,000 hours, and you then you've become, your stuff of a world-class level. You can really compete with others. So 10,000 hours is a target that you need to aim for to be able to get what they call world-class, best of the best at things. So like if you competed against other people, you'd really be able to hold your own in whatever topic that may be. And remember, I was talking about that went from everywhere from, it's not just academic, and it's not just sport-related. It's music, it's master criminals, it's musicians, it's anything you want to do, creative arts, any sort of drawing you want to do, acting. Anything that you decide to spend those hours doing, you will become of a level that's classed world class. See, but the thing is that in the beginning, you can't expect to be good. Too many people make this mistake of thinking that right in the beginning that they're going to be good at it. They're going to do it a couple of times, they might be finding their feet, and then all of a sudden, bam, they're just going to keep stacking their achievements on top of one another, which normally isn't the case. There's so many times people start something. They start it over and over and over and over again because they just keep making so many mistakes. And too many people start it, fail a couple of times, and stop. It's like how, like I always talk about, it's like when you were a child and you were learning to walk, you didn't fall down 2 or 3 times and go, yeah, walking isn't for me, I'll give it up, You keep trying, you keep going at it. Same thing with this one. Too many people have this relationship with failure that it's like, because I failed a certain amount of times, I probably should stop trying. When that's not the case at all. Like here, it tells you it takes 4,000 hours just for you to get to the level where you could comfortably teach someone else. 4,000 hours. So when you put in like 2 hours, 3 hours into something and you go, you know what, maybe this isn't for me, you're not giving yourself enough time to succeed. You're not giving yourself enough time to be able to decide and work out if this really is for you, if this is something that you really want to pursue. Because what I really liked about it is that it talks about how talent is often mistaken for hours and hours of practice you didn't see. So too many people see somebody else do something and think they're just talented, when really all they did was just put in more hours than what you did, or more hours than the other person. And then what you're mistaking for talent is them just being persistent. Persistent and consistent, getting back every time they fell off, getting back up again. Every time they made a mistake, looking at it, evaluating it, working on a solution, and then trying again. Every time that, they decide like, oh man, I don't know if this is any for me, I'll do one more day, I'll do one more hour. They just kept telling themselves that, putting in those hours, compounding all that time to the point where they reached a level where they're now considered talented, when really it was just deliberate hours of practice. But what I also like about that, what that means then, your attitude, not your talent, determines your potential. So that means that like anybody who has a great potential to do anything, a great athlete, it's not always based on their talent, it's based on their attitude. Because you have a talented athlete who has a poor attitude towards practice, who has a poor attitude to performing, who's always lazy about things, their potential is going to be far, far lower than the person whose attitude is that I'm going to do whatever it takes. I will put in every hour I have available waking. I will give up sleep, I'll give up food, I'll give up social life, I'll give up everything to become the best at this. I may be terrible today, but tomorrow I won't be. That sort of attitude is the reason why that person's potential will be far higher than the person who's naturally gifted at something. You can have two people that, say they're trying out for sport. One person is just naturally far more agile, far more athletic than the other person, but the attitude is poor towards it. The attitude is always like, yeah, I don't have to really try, like, I don't really want to go do this or anything like that. The other person is, they're very uncoordinated. They're very slow. They almost seem like that they're like, don't know how to walk coordinated. They're constantly tripping over themselves, very Gumby. But their attitude is that I will overcome every single one of my weaknesses. I will become competent in all of this to the point where I can compete with others. That person's attitude is going to far, far exceed the person that's naturally talented, because that person will consistently persist in times of difficulties, in times of triumphs. They will be consistent with it. They will just continue to keep doing more and more and more, where this person will always feel like they've done enough. And that's what I really liked about it, is that anybody can reach that 10,000 hours based on persistence. Anybody can become world class at anything that they want to do by simply being persistent. So that to me tells me again that just how much control we have over everything we do, just how much control we have over the decisions we make. Because again, you can decide if you're going to put those 10,000 hours in or not. You can break it down into per day. I'm going to put in 1 hour a day. In 10,000 days, you become world class at it. I'm going to put in, let's halve it. I'm going to put in 2 hours a day, and in just 5,000 days, you become world class. And the numbers just keep going up from there. You're going to put in 10 hours a day, and then eventually you will become world class. See, understanding that, again, it's just a recipe, and you have control over a recipe. You just follow the steps, and you will get the result. That to me tells me and helps me understand why a lot of people have been making the mistakes that they have been, because they didn't realize that there is a target, there's a foolproof plan, that if you follow it, you will get this result. But now that you understand that on top of that, now that you have the recipe, it's not just the recipe, it's just the deliberate amount of hours that you put into it is the reason why you're going to achieve whatever you're going to achieve. So you can combine all that and put it all together to get to the point where you can become not only good, not only great, but world class at anything you choose you want to do. And that to me means that there's all these people that felt disenfranchised, that felt that like they didn't have the power or anything to do more. They absolutely do. This here proves it, that no matter what you decide, you want to pick up a sport, you want to try, you want to try your hand at a different hobby, you just want to become better at something as simple as maths. Anything that you decide to do, you put in the amount of hours and you will get the result based on the certain amount of hours that you put in. There's a direct relation between the two, provided you remain persistent, provided you remain consistent. Provided you have the right attitude, you will eventually achieve results better than anyone else who didn't do this, who didn't approach it in the same way. That means there is so much more control and so much more power in your hands than you realize. See, just remember that, to quickly summarize on this, we talked about how that this is about what it takes to become world class. Not good, not great, but world class. Ranked amongst the best of the best. That 10,000 hour rule was all it took. On average, if you aim for 10,000 hours, within a few hundred hours of either side of that, you will become worthy of being ranked with world-class people in the exact same topic. You have to understand that you don't expect to be good in the beginning. Expect that you're going to fail and make a lot of mistakes. Don't go in there thinking that like you're going to come out unscathed, nothing is ever going to happen to you, because all that'll end up happening is that you end up being disappointed. But if you go in with an open mindset, going that there is going to be a good chance that I'm going to probably fail at a lot of these parts. So long as I continue to keep going, I will become amazing at this one. And you have to remember that at the end of the day, it is your attitude, not your talent, that will determine your potential. So provided that you have the right attitude and you look at things in the right way, you will outperform everyone else around you who's already got a head start, who already has some sort of advantage. And then understanding that based on the different levels, that 4,000 hours will get you to about a level where you're comfortable to teach someone. 8,000 hours will get you sort of like good, great sort of level. 10,000 hours is what you want to aim for to become world class. That same pattern is the same between anything to you, any topic at all, whether it was chess players, musicians, athletes, even master criminals. So they took an analysis on very, very different areas and categories just to prove that it is not the topic that you are studying, but purely you and the amount of deliberate hours of practice that you put in. And remember what I said and explained about deliberate hours? Hours that you genuinely put in, wholeheartedly focused on that. Not, a mixture of like, I did a bit of this and a bit of that and a bit of this. Deliberate hours on specifically that topic and nothing else. And then understanding that talent is so often mistaken for hours and hours of practice you didn't see. That a lot of people that you might think are talented really just follow this 10,000 hour and will just put in the right amount of hours of deliberate practice. Now, remember, we'll be making a lot more of these videos for this training series to help you with your personal development goals. But that's all for now. So until next time, leave a comment below on what you like the most and look forward to sharing more with you in the next episode of Harry's Highlights.